All right, welcome back to It's Time Picks. We got UFC 298, Volkanovski and Ilya Topuria on deck. This should be a pretty decent card as far as title cards go. It's not the greatest. There's only 12 fights, and some of them are not very exciting. However, there should be a lot of finishes on this card.
I agree with that. I can't wait.
So let's jump right into it. Very first fight, we've got Andrea KGB Lee against Miranda Maverick. And let's kick it right over to you, Joey.
This could be a decent fight, but no, listen, this could be a decent fight because Maverick, yes, I think she's the better, takedown, fighter in this fight. But primarily she's a muscle takedown person. It's not like she's shooting clean singles, clean doubles. She's closing the distance, clinching you up, and she's gonna try to Wonder Woman your ass to the ground. Where if she's on top, you better move. If not, she's going to hit with ground and pound and she's going to hold you. Lee, on the other hand, she is a good Muay Thai striker. She does have decent volume, decent takedown defense. It's not like absolute dog water, but it's decent. If Maverick can't able to big sisterly, which I still believe she will, this could be like a split decision type fight. Because if Maverick don't get the takedowns early, I think Lee volume could do it. But I'm going Maverick. Maverick is my pick. Look, I got to play both sides. People are wondering, but I got Maverick. I'll tell you right now, I don't think this is going to be an easy fight.
I think she obliterates her. I think this is Andrea Lee's last fight in the UFC.
Oh,
I
I can
think
see
she
that.
goes down. She goes down looking like fucking dog water.
You want to hear something funny about Andrea Lee, though? She's fought a lot of good women that's, ranked, of course. Two of the fights were splits, and she could have been set. She could be 7-4 in the UFC, but that's why you can't leave it in the hands of the judges. And I think Lee does lose this fight. I think there's better value you could probably go to in other spots, which we'll definitely get to. And but as a whole, I think this is a fight I'm probably gonna try to stay away from. Because even if, let's say, Maverick does get the takedowns, she doesn't really. She's more of a position holder for, holding and not really gonna throw many blows on top. But
I think you're out of your mind because in all of her wins, she averages over 100. She's only at 8,900. Andrea has lost three in a row. Yeah, one was a split decision to Macy Barber that could have arguably gone to her. That said, Andrea Lee is now 35. Miranda Maverick is 26. She continues to get better. And you look at the three losses that Maverick has. One is also to Macy Barber. The other one is to
she won.
Jasmine Jasudavicius, who now that loss looks great. And the other one is Aaron Blanchfield, and that loss looks even better.
Future
So
champ.
she, I think Maverick just rolls over her, and she is going to be heavily owned everywhere, and she should be.
So, how you said about the split decision. Everyone and their mama knew that she beat Barber. Everyone and their mama. I don't know what the judges had a ticket on the wrong side, but
I don't disagree. So, all right, both of us going with the favorite in Maverick. Next up, we've got Oban Elliott and Val Woodburn. Elliott's making his UFC debut. Woodburn is making his second fight after getting obliterated by a non-striker and Bo Nickel. Woodburn's also dropping down two divisions to take this fight, and
one.
I thought he typically
Buck
fights
70.
and 185.
Yeah, he fought Bo Nickel 85 on extremely short notice. But his career is like the cut down of Cannonier similarities because at one point he fought 205. Then he
Yeah,
fought
yeah.
85 for a minute. And now, the first fight in the UFC was 85, extreme notice, short notice. And now he made his first attempt, and yeah, he made it at 169 with no problem. I think
Which
this is the weight class for him. Even 155, I think he can make.
I don't know. It's very worrisome. So if you go back, his last four fights, it's 185, 195, 205, 185, 185, his last five fights. And now he's dropping way down. I don't like that type of cut. I don't think it's I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's that great of a fighter to begin with. He
I don't either.
the way he fought, if you go and look at any of his past fights, he tries to muscle people. He's just losing and shedding muscle. So I mean, he's gonna have a hard time in this fight. Elliott, like I said, he's making his debut. He looks like a pretty solid fighter. He can do it both ways. My only concern with him is that he takes this to a decision and doesn't score well. He does, like he's got power. He does have grappling. It's just a matter of what kind of show he's going to put on in his debut. Um, at 9,300, I'm not sure he quite pays off without a first and potentially a second round finish, but I'm on Elliott.
I'm on Elliott, and someone actually told me if you look at how Woodburn comes out the fight, as you said, muscle style, they said a less talented William Knight, and William Knight's IQ was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Um, but as I said, Elliott is the pick. But if you're playing these, like I said, these huge tournaments, 150, if you want to lightly, and I mean this nicely, lightly sprinkle Woodburn, because there's a chance that if he does win in any round, there's a good probability that he could chin check because he does have insane power. But I think Elliott, he actually Elliott's primarily a grappler wrestler who, developed his striking. So you can see Elliott rack up between maybe 3 to 4 takedowns in this fight. But I say without a finish within the first two, I don't think he pays it off. And one thing I'm noticing this year, not last year, at least this year, be careful with the Contender Series debuts. The only good one I seen was Emil last card, and he absolutely looked incredible. And you nailed that to the point and how he was going to absolutely kill value, and he did. So I'll give you a round of applause for that. But I think Elliott's going to win. I don't think Woodburn. I think maybe Woodburn goes back down to other Cage Warriors or LFA, gets more experience, and maybe he can come back up and be all right. But I think this is Elliott all day, and I don't think he pays the tag off though.
It'll be close. So both of us going with the favorite in Elliott. Next up, we got Josh Quinlan against Danny Barlow. Barlow, I believe, is making his debut off of the Contender Series, and
Yep,
Quinlan will be making his, I think, third UFC
third.
fight. That is correct. He's 1-1. He knocked someone out and lost a pretty ugly decision. Where are you going on this one?
Quinlan knocked out a dude that we could probably
And he's going to
sneeze
get
and
knocked
knock
out.
out. Um, and last fight was Quinlan's first fight without, taking the big boy medicine. Um, but he took Trey Waters on. I think that fight was short notice for Waters, but Waters, I don't know how Waters makes 170 at his height. That is one of the freakiest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it
But
was a bit of a weight bully type of fight.
yeah, and Quinlan couldn't find a range, and that was the big issue. And Barlow, he's a Tennessee boy. And I think his nickname's something to do with his left hand because he just throws his left
Yeah,
hand from
left hand to
hell.
God.
He throws hell with that hand. Um, but this is a fight I will be careful with. Barlow, could he absolutely possibly chin check Quinlan if he can't, yes. But I think he has till maybe the first round to do it. I'm not saying he's first round or bust by any means.
Pretty
Because,
close.
it looks like Barlow can go to decision. He can maybe use his range a little bit and then try to snipe Quinlan out. I almost picked Quinlan, but I'll say this. Be careful with this fight. Quinlan is a live dog. So if you're telling me you're playing some Quinlan, I do not hate it. Um, Barlow's another guy that has range on him. At welterweight, he's a guy with 79-inch reach. That's insane at welterweight. And if Quinlan can't get inside like he couldn't do against Waters, if Barlow doesn't finish him, honestly, I think this. If Barlow doesn't get a finish, he doesn't pay off 87. The way his style is, because he's more of a counter. I'm gonna throw my left hand. If I find a real though, I'm gonna get you. Quinlan, he's more of your power. But if Quinlan actually uses his wrestling boots in this fight, he is a good dog at 75. So to me, this is a dog or pass. But I'm just slightly going Barlow.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I've taken Quinlan in all three of his, or well, now all three of the UFC fights that he's been in. I think he's a much better fighter than what we saw in his last fight against Waters. The reach definitely was an issue in that last fight. He also only went one for eight on his takedown attempts, and you can bet your ass that that's not going to happen again in this fight. Barlow has that massive reach advantage. I think it's 7 inches that he's got, and if he can keep it for range, obviously, Quinlan's going to struggle. But I don't think Barlow's takedown defense is anywhere near what Waters had. So I think Quinlan's going to find a lot more success, and I think he pulls this one out.
I don't hate it. Like I said, that's a low confident pick because, like I said, I think Barlow would just. I think Barlow's the better, well-rounded striker, where Quinlan's just going to try to throw overhand power and. But if he can mix that in and shoot the takedowns, he can easily pay off his tag at 75. And if
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be mad if I need to work my lineups and I need to get one last spot and Quinlan's there, I got no problem playing Quinlan because this is a low confidence pick for me. So
I think it's gonna be that way for a lot of people. This fight's
mm,
very 50-50. So we are split on
it's a
that one. I've
potential
got the
fade too. This fight's a potential fade for me. If I'm actually leaning, if Barlow doesn't get to finish, no chance in hell he pays that off. So a
no,
potential fade.
I'm going with the dog in Quinlan. You've got the favorite in Barlow. Next up, we have a fight where I believe the odds flipped. Ming
Did they?
Yang Zhang and Brenson Ribeiro. Last I checked, they were.
Last time I saw Ribeiro was still dog. Last
Get
time I
these
saw, I thought
pulled
he was
up.
like +1 some. Let me see. I got the book
Yeah,
up.
very, very close. It's almost a pick 'em. Some of them
Yup.
have. It's
I got
pretty at
minus
this point.
120.
It's pretty much a pick 'em at this point,
Yeah, minus 120 +100.
and some of them have even less. So, um, this is another fight where both guys are making their debuts, and this is a fight that should absolutely be targeted for DFS because one of these guys is going down. They come in and they just swing for the fences the entire time. Zhang only lasts about 6 minutes. So if he does not get him out of there in that first 6 minutes, he is likely going to get himself knocked out. Ribeiro is tough. He throws a lot. He throws with a lot of power. He, well, both of these guys, I'm pretty sure it's 31 fights between the two, and they have 31 finishes. So someone's going to die in this fight. Both of them have been knocked out. It's just going to be a matter of who lands what. I've got the very small favorite in Zhang. I know a lot of people are going with Ribeiro, but pick one of them, side with one of them because someone's going down.
As you just said, get a coin, flip it. That's how Rager Finn, I think this fight's gonna be. I was going back, I know Ming Yang was the guy that pretty much fought in the first season of Shanghai. I think he had some injuries or visa issues. I know of. That's why he couldn't come over right away. One thing I'll say about Ribeiro, and I think that's why I think a lot of people are on him. His fight to get into the UFC, he was one of the biggest dogs of one of the biggest dogs of the season. And he was going against another top good Brazilian, and he absolutely flatlined him. And I think it was like almost a 4-1 dog in that fight. And one thing I didn't like, Ming, he lost to guys that were 0-0, 1-0. And another thing that kind of did the icing for me, you probably know the guy's name better than I do. Do you remember who that one fraud was who fought Alonzo Metafield? Who
Yeah.
everyone, I forget
Yeah,
his
he
name.
came in
You
with
know what I'm
his
talking about.
yeah, with his stupid record that was not
Yeah,
correct.
stupid record. Ming Yang lost to him. So that kind of like, ew, how the hell you lose to that bum? Um, but yeah, pick your side. I'm going Ribeiro. But if you told me that, oh, I like Ming Yang better, I'm not gonna argue with this fight. No, this is one fight I cannot argue. But if you're starting lines, start, besides we'll get to other fights to start with, but this is one fight you gotta include. I firmly believe because the under 1.5 is like minus 350, almost minus 400. Somebody is getting to get served.
Well, and that's
I got
because
Ribeiro.
so he's got if you go to Ribeiro, the last 5 fights, he's 3-2, all five have ended in the first round. And then you switch over to to Zhang
He's like on
and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. His last 13 fights have ended in the first round, and he's on a winning streak of
a
9.
9, I think.
All of them have ended in the first round. So, like I said, he's a first round fighter. Give him 6 minutes. It really just comes down to who can land.
That's all, the two body frames. I was like, okay, well, I think Ribeiro, he's more wider. He's the big old muscle guy. I honestly think Ming Yang could actually go down a weight class with his frame. Ribeiro looks like somebody that was just made in a Brazilian lab. And you just threw all these different body parts on the guy, and he's naturally huge. But
Yeah,
yeah,
just
this is a fight. Just flip a coin.
They both eat a lot of shots. The only thing that I don't like about Ribeiro is not only does he eat slightly more, he is not as quick and he's not as accurate. Zhang is actually pretty accurate. I'm pretty sure that when I last saw, he lands like 65% of his strikes. That is huge at light
Mhm.
heavyweight. It's only going to take one shot, and we could see someone rattled immediately. So
Okay, do you think this fight? Honestly, I think this fight could
60
even have me
seconds is
live.
definitely,
Oh yeah, if they
definitely.
touch gloves and they just fire.
So we are split again on this one. It's a very, very small split, but
Yeah.
I've got Zhang, you've got Ribeiro. Next up, we have Nakamura against the trash can Carlos Vera, who I don't even know why he's getting this fight. He's 36, making his UFC debut. He's got no impressive wins. I'm not really sure where this is coming from, but my guess is that you are not taking Carlos Vera in this fight.
You sure about that?
If you want to be my guest,
Nah, I'm not that dumb. But pretty much is a 35-year-old guy making his debut. He was supposed to fight somebody else, and I forget who it was, but the fight dropped a while ago. Thank God the original opponent's not fighting Nakamura because I'd feel terrible because I like Brady Highstand, and Brady
I do
Highstand
too.
was going to get absolutely demolished, and that would absolutely hurt me watching. Not it's easy. Not
There's not a whole
look.
lot to say for this one.
No,
Sorry.
not a lot to say. Minus 1,400 for crying out loud. If you're the type of people that are gonna parlay that, that's firmly up to you. If you want better odds, just play the pure finish. Get the KO, TKO, or sub insurance. Get out of the thousands. You can probably parlay that. This fight is not going past round two. And I'll be damn near shocked if Nakamura is aggressive early. It's not going out of round one. And without all the value that's on this card, you got to staple him in. I just think he's going to absolutely roll over Vera. And I don't, like I said, I think the only reason why Vera's in it, he was supposed to take a short notice. His first fight dropped. He's from the Ultimate Fighter house. He didn't really impress me at all. So when I actually heard he got the call, I was like, oh. Okay, so pretty much what he is, he's pretty much think about Ryan Hall, trained with Ryan Hall, one of those BJJ butt scooting nerds. That's what he pretty much is. His striking sucks. His entries for takedowns suck. He allows a takedown, and then I will give him credit. Off his back, he is very slick. That's the only Hail Mary of a god that he can win. Because, like I said, Nakamura
Yeah,
is young.
I'm not even going to give him that.
No. I think Nakamura,
Nakamura
honestly, I think Nakamura could pick him up and just knock him out.
he's a generational talent, to be honest. Nakamura is going to go far and he's going to
I've
be around
never seen
for
a
a while.
Chinese prospect in Nakamura that was that insanely good in wrestling. I can't remember the last one.
He's
And
Japanese,
it is
just
an easy pick. Don't, huh?
he's Japanese, just so.
Oh, shit. Is he? I thought he was Chinese.
So, anyways, that one's pretty easy. Lock him in. Both of us going with Rinya Nakamura. Next
Oh,
up,
another thing that you may like about this, he moved out of his country and guess where he trains now? Pretty much full time. America top team, Florida. That's even going to help him even more.
next up, we've got Marcos Ruggiero de Lima against Justin Tafa. And I hate this fight because I can't ever get these two right, especially against Tafa because I have gone against Tafa in every fight. Um, I am going with Tafa in this fight for the first time. And he's had I think 3 or 4 consecutive first round finishes. He have obviously has a shit ton of power. It's just going to come down to if Delima can get this to the mat or not, and I don't think he's going to. I think it's going to be Tafa with a first round knockout.
You pretty much just took everything off my piece of paper I said about this matchup. I can usually never get them right. Everyone thought the Lima was the slam dunk against Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis took a page out of Jorge Masvidal and hit him with a flying freaking knee from hell. Um, you know, I'm not impressed with Tafa's overall, wins, but it's the heavyweight division ain't really stacked from the bottom. Once you get towards like 10 and up, that's when you see like the holy shit for heavyweight. But if Delima wanted to make this easy, he would take a page of what he did against Andre Arlovski, take him down, hold him, ground and pound, and go from there. But at least this Tafa brother actually has takedown defense. Not the younger brother Tafa, This brother got takedown defense. And like I said, usually I can't get them right. I think I actually got it right the last fight. I can't fully remember.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know if
might.
I think I might have picked Tafa versus Lane because I said Lane left his he had the tall man syndrome. Um, yeah, I'm going Tafa. And the only thing that does scare me in this fight, like I said, Tafa, all his wins, all four of his wins are in round one. So could he? And Delima is 38. He's not no spring chicken. And but the only thing that does scare me is if he gets out of round one, this is gonna be a low scoring heavyweight fight.
Yep, I agree.
So this is purely GPP. Don't touch this fight in cash. This is a GPP fight. Because if Tafa wins, more than likely, statistic wise, he's gonna get the first round finish. And that's easily getting paid off.
All right, so both of us going with the dog in Justin Tafa, and I actually think that the odds should be flipped for this fight, but
I do agree with that one.
what do I know? Next up, we have, oh man, Amanda Lemos against Mackenzie Dern. It'll be the first time that I don't select my girl in a fight, which is very depressing. But let's hear what you got to say first.
If this was a full camp, I probably would have picked your girl. On everything, I probably would have picked your girl. This was supposed to be Tatiana Suarez, and Suarez was probably gonna
Oh,
be
a minus 8,000 favorite.
yeah, she was gonna probably be 9,700 in this fight. Um, Dern steps in. I didn't like what I saw from Dern in that Andrade fight. If when she noticed when you couldn't get it to the ground, she tried her hands got wild and she got touched on the chin. And it was like a health bar in a fight game. Get hit, doop, doop, doop. If she doesn't mind her P's and Q's in this fight and makes it a dirty clinch fight and just holds, there might be a realm she could get TKO'd at some point. But honestly, I think if she can weather the storm early, because I think Lemos is going to come in there and let the hands fly. To me, this is Lemos or kind of bust because, yeah, I don't think Dern's wrestling's all that. It's improving, but it improved. You definitely saw it against Angela Hill, which Angela Hill is hard as hell to take down. Um, yeah, I got Lemos. Like I said, full camp, honest to God, probably would have leaned Dern with upside, with control time and potential sub, but I got Lemos.
Yeah, so if you go back and you look at both of their last fights, Lemos got killed by Whaley and Dern got murdered by Andrade. And in the Andrade Dern fight, Dern was knocked down 4 times and just got completely butchered on the feet. And we could see the same exact thing happen in this fight because Amanda Lemos is known for her striking. She's got a shit ton of power. Dern's taking this on short notice. Her takedowns are not the best. She is a BJJ wizard on the mat when she can get it there, which if she gets it there, she will likely submit Lemos. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
The problem is how many shots is she going to eat trying to get it there, and how good is Lamos's takedown defense now? Um, like you said, if it was a full camp, I'd probably lean towards Dern as I have every other fight, but I just can't do it in this one. And the beatdown that she took from Andrade worries me. So I've got Lemos, both of us going with the favorite. It's a tough fight. Lemos could completely shatter the DFS slate in GPP if she does exactly what Andrade did. So you got to keep an eye on that. But both of us going with the favorite. Next up, we've got Anthony Hernandez against your boy Roman Kopylov. I'm going with Hernandez. I can't go against him. He has looked so ridiculously good in the UFC over his last 4 fights. And even in that his fight against Kevin Holland, he just got, I mean, it ended in 40 seconds. So I mean, we didn't really get to see anything. And that was one of those crazy knees that just the Ben Askren knee, it's just one of those things
Yep.
that's just it just happens to land. So you don't know how that fight would have gone. Hernandez, to me, he's a really, really complete fighter. Don't get me wrong, Roman Kopylov is a great fighter. He's got a great stand-up, great striking. There's no doubt about that. There's a reason he's knocked out 3, 4 guys in a row. But I just think Hernandez gets this to the mat at some point and lays it on Kopylov.
So, like I said, I've been on the Kabbalah train since day one. Um, early in his first two fights, everyone questioned his takedown defense. No, I didn't like how he lost to Roberson. That wasn't a great look. Roberson gets you back and get submitted by Roberson. Ugh. Lost the second fight to honestly forget who, and then he went on his
Darius.
fourth. Duraev. Okay, that's not. Still not a great look. Duraev's not in the UFC no more. Um, but then I actually went deep diving. The next four fights were primarily guys that wanted to brawl, and you don't
Low level
brawl.
fighters.
Yeah, and you don't brawl a world level kickboxer like that because you're asking to get your shit clipped. And guess what? He's on a 4 fight KO streak.
Are you switching your pick?
I am on, dude. From everything
What?
I'm look on God. I hate, dude. I'm telling you, I watched some more on Hernandez today, and I kind of rewatched one of our videos where we talked about it was the Vera and Vera's last fight against Petrosian. So I was trying to go back and forth. Does Vera has decent striking? Decent, yes. Petrosian, if they stayed on the feet, he might have won a point decision. I thought about this to where Hernandez will at least bite down on his mouth guard and swing, then shoot.
Yep.
Kabalov has never fought, just going back to his record, anyone that will try to close the distance. And honestly, what scares me in this fight, and where the reason why I switched, if Kabalov throws a kick and gets taken down, he's not getting up. I don't think he gets up.
Nope.
And that's the reason why I fucking switched.
Good
And I love
man.
Kabalov. I love Kabalov to death. And I would be happy if I'm wrong. But and the crazy thing is Hernandez took an ass beating against Vera, and guess what? He outdogged him and finished him in the next round. I think I think this fight gets finished within the first 2 rounds. Pick your side. If Kabalov comes out and looks like he's the insane takedown defense, then Hernandez better find a plan B and try to do something. But everything I'm looking at, and it hurts me to say, I think Hernandez has one of the highest probabilities for takedown city in this fight. And he's honestly DFS gold.
Yep. I am very, very surprised right now because I did not see that coming.
Bro, I was watching tape this morning and I was like, okay, I got to try to. I did it on all the fights. And then I was like, Kabalov hasn't really fought someone that will take him down. Even Roberson, the takedown wasn't clean. And Roberson somehow got him down. And I didn't like that. I didn't like it. And look,
All right.
knowing that he's primarily if you told me he was just a boxer and then he decided to watch, okay, maybe he can try to win a decision if he can keep it on. But he throws so many kicks. And don't get me wrong, he works the head and the body. But one of those kicks get caught, you're screwed. Because you're going for a ride, and Hernandez, he doesn't just hold you. He gets in position, does damage, and if you give your back to this kid, you're done.
All right. Well, with that flip of your pick, we are both going with the favorite in Anthony Hernandez. Next up, we have one of my favorite fighters in Merab Walashvili against Henry Cejudo. Who are you going with this one, Joey? I'm really curious to see.
I'll tell you right now, my pick almost flipped. Almost.
Ooh.
Almost. So, of course, we know if you want to go by overall credentials, Henry Cejudo is the better wrestler credentials. Gold medalist. Oh, I wish he would actually use more offensive wrestling. Because one thing we know about Duraev, and he showed in his last fight, even if he doesn't get the takedowns, he's going to be like this, right in your face, no matter what. And honestly, I think Cejudo is maybe the better straight puncher. And honestly, I think if he's going to have success, he's going to have to use his straight punches and try to keep Dallas Feely at range, which good luck with that because that man doesn't know what backing up means. He's like a Terminator that comes forward, will take a hit, grab your leg, and find a way to take you down. And honestly, and I told people this, I got a lot of hate for this. I say, and Dallas Feely is the reason why Sterling moved up because Sterling does not want that sauce.
Oh, hell no. He
and
doesn't
I'm
want to fight.
They're
best friends.
Even if they did decide to fight, UFC made them fight just to get that number. Sterling doesn't want that fight. I'll put any amount of money. Sterling does not want that fight.
Nope.
So I'm going Dallas Feely. So I just think that he's going to be constantly in the face of Cejudo. He may not get the takedown early. Because I will say this. Cejudo's hips are good. but eventually Sterling got the takedowns. But the crazy thing is, Cejudo had more control time. But I think Sterling was fine with that because he was trying to, attack submissions. He had no problem with it. My only worry is, and I know Darius Philly's going to be highly owned because of the upside of coming forward. He does have good volume, but he mixes it up good and chain wrestle out the ass. He could go 5 for 42. And there's a good chance he pays that tag off. Yeah, I need some water. But if Cejudo's has takedowns and this is a pure striking fight, this fight's gonna bust and mess up so many lineups. But
Who are you going with?
and one reason why I didn't do the switch, I don't like when a fighter keeps bringing up the R word. I know he said, "Oh, I retired as an Olympian. I came back." Cejudo retired at the wrong time because he was still in his prime and he retired. And some people can say, "Oh, he came back and beat Aljo. Split this in."
He did not beat Aljo.
No, I think this is, as a fan, this is a good matchup for this division. Winner, and honestly, I think the winner does get the winner of O'Malley and Vera.
It ain't gonna matter. Wallachvili's gonna hold the title as soon as he gets that shot. So
Yeah, but yeah, I'm on Marab. But I don't mind Henry. But the only thing I don't like is I don't like people that constantly throw the R word around. And
yeah, no. I'm not. I'm still not a fan of the little fucking gremlin. He annoys the shit out of me. He thinks he's better than he is now. Um, yeah, no, it might take Walshvili a couple of extra tries, but once he gets to the mat, it's going to be the same thing we've seen in every fight. And if he can't get it to the mat, we're going to see the same thing we saw against Aldo. It's just going to push him against the fence and hold him there. He has probably the most suffocating wrestling, and if I were to put him against Khabib, I would take Walashvili because his wrestling is that ridiculous. And you can hate me all you want for saying that, but there has never been anybody that suffocates a fighter like Walashvili does, and he does it with unlimited cardio, which is disgusting. So both of us going with the favorite in Walashvili. He and wins in DFS. He's only scored below 100, I think, 3 times. One of them was 90.
DFS Gold.
Most of the time he scores about 130 and he has hit 170, nearly 170 twice. So he is definitely gold when it comes to DFS. So both of us go with the favorite. Next up, we got Jeff Neal against Ian Gary. And I know everybody is tired of Ian Gary and his antics. However, I really just don't. At first, I was on Neal. When it was first announced, I was on Neal. And then I really did my deep dive, and there's nothing that I can say about Neal that shows me or tells me that he can beat Gary in this fight, aside from not getting him a knockout. If you go through all of Neal's wins, yeah, he's got some big names, but there's nothing impressive about any of his fucking wins. Nothing, except for when he fought Luque. That was the only fight where he just turned it up.
Luque bad.
He turned up to another level, and he just lit Luque up. Then he fought Shavkat Rakhmonov, and he reverted right back to what he used to be. And part of that is because Shavkat's a beast. But another part of that is Neal just is not a volume type of fighter. He's not. He likes to time his punches a little bit, and against Gary, that's going to be a problem because Gary has no problem just counter punching all day, and he's good at it. So I've got Gary. I don't think that he knocks Neal out. I actually think that this is a fade type of fight. I don't like either side because I don't think either one scores well in a win, but I do have Gary winning.
So one thing I'll say about Neal, everyone knew that Rakhmonov was going to win, but I do give Neal the props. He was touching Rakhmonov in that fight at times.
Yeah, he's got hands. There's no doubt.
There, he didn't. I think honestly, even in that loss, I believe Neal's stock went up some, showing holy shit, Neal's a tough son of a bitch.
That's why I don't think that Gary will finish him.
And I'll say this right now: if Neal can make that fight similar to Rakhmonov, I think he will chin check Gary at some point in this fight. If Gary's like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to prove a point," everyone can say I'm a decision guy. I'm gonna go for a finish. I'll say this: if Gary comes out like he did against Sung, and he got chinned bad versus Song.
Yeah, he's been
Absolutely.
careful. He's been careful not to do that though.
But look, one of these times people are like, oh, why are you gonna push Ian Gary if he's not gonna go for it, go for the kill? He's not, all that exciting. I don't mind Ian Gary's striking style. He's a good bouncy guy. He's a counter striker. When he needs to, he has good jabs. Um, I'm going Neil. I'm going Neil. And the crazy thing is, my favorite dog of the card too. I think Neil is going to try to close the distance. And honestly, I think, as you said, if Gary doesn't win by finish, he doesn't pay it off. But I think this fight has a chance to be potentially fight of the night. One of the fights. I
I
think
think it's
there's
gonna be more
a chance that
boring.
these two guys can come out and swing. And I'm going Neil, bro.
Trust me, don't I would have no issue if that happened, and I would absolutely love for Neil to knock him out. I just don't think that he's gonna be able to get inside of Gary. I really don't. All right. So we are split on that pick. You are going with one of the bigger dogs on the card and
Yep.
Jeff Neal. I have got the favorite in Gary. Next up, we have the man, Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whitaker against Paulo Costa. You sticking with our guy?
I don't pick against Bobby Knuckles, bro. But one thing I will say, and it's somewhat worrisome. Um, if you want to go off, stat wise, but you can look at the opponents. Whitaker's actually 0-2 in the month of February, but that's when, he was still young at welterweight and he fought a killer in Wonderboy Thompson when he was in his prime, absolutely steamrolling everybody. And Wonderboy was the reason why Whitaker jumped weight. The second one, he got caught against Adesanya and got chin checked. That's going to happen. When Adesanya was pissed off, he lets his hands go and he's going to knock out a lot of people. Costa, I do give Costa some respect. He actually tried to get Chimaev in the fight, but it was more on the Chimaev side. I do give him credit for that. He's trying to fight, but the opponent's drop just didn't work. The only thing that does scare me at this point from Whitaker, you've seen and the Duplessis fight, when you can actually put him on his back foot and touch him on the chin, he does get worrisome. That's the only thing that I would say that would scare me in this fight, because Costa's all his wins primarily come from knockout. But I'm going Whitaker. I think Whitaker is going to try to make this a well-rounded fight. I think he's going to try to slow down the punch and power of Costa with the light kicks. And then eventually, when Paulo does try to overextend, it wouldn't shock me if Whitaker even tries to go for a takedown. Whitaker needs a finish to pay off. I don't see it, because I will give Costa his respect. He is a tough son of a bitch. So if you're picking any side in this fight, if you want to play something, you can say dog or pass if you need to get down to a potential value. But pretty much just know you're sitting on the edge of your seat, hoping that Costa chin checks Whitaker. Is it possible? Duplessis showed you come forward on Whitaker, you can touch him. But we don't know what side of Costa we're going to get. If you're telling me I'm getting a Costa against Yoel Romero, then Whitaker will get chin checked. But you don't know what side of Costa you're going to get. You never know, personally. If you get Costa versus Rockhold, and that fight absolutely sucked.
Rockhold's ancient.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you get that kind of fight, then But I got Whitaker.
Well,
But
all right. So I'm going with Whitaker as well. And this will be, I have only gone against him in one other fight, and that was against Dricus. And that's because I told you that Dricus was just a better fighter. And I still believe that. You mentioned a second ago that Whitaker struggles against guys that, come forward on him. And I don't agree with that, because Darren Till likes to walk forward. Jared Cannonier likes to walk forward. Vittori gets in your face. He's fought all of these guys that like to push forward. Dricus is just an animal, and he's a completely different fighter. He throws strikes from all over the place, and I think that's what caused the issues. Paulo Costa does not exactly do that. He likes to stand and throw those damn looping hooks and his big shots because he's a big musclehead. And I think it's going to get him killed in this fight. I think we won't see a gigantic score from Whitaker because he doesn't get a lot of finishes, but I do think we could see upwards of 100 strikes from Bobby Knuckles, and he could hit right around that value. It won't be enough on this card to hit optimal unless he does somehow get a finish somewhere along those, in there. But I think he completely dominates Costa. Costa is a bitch of a fighter. He hasn't fought and beat anybody good. His fight against Vittori, okay, you know, he had 100 and whatever strikes. He looked good there, but he lost get to a guy that's not primarily a striker. So, and then he comes out and beats Rockhold. Then he gets injured, can't fight forever. Now he's coming back from the injury finally, and he's way better than he thinks he is. So I got Whitaker all day. All right, so both of us going with the favorite in Bobby Knuckles. Next up, we have the main event with Alexander Volkanovski and Ilya Topuria. And for a long time, I was going to be on Topuria, and I'm not. I am locked in on Volkanovski, and I don't even think that this is going to be a close fight. And there's a lot of reasons that goes into that. So if you look at all of Volkanovski's fights at 145, obviously he hasn't lost at 145. We know that he has only lost to Islam. And the Islam fight, you know, it's the last one
Was short notice.
was short notice. He was not ready. He was not training.
He
He
saved the
should
card.
not have. He should not have taken the fight. But yes, exactly right. He was saving the card because nobody else wanted to step in, and it cost him. It wasn't good. He was not mind. He wasn't mentally set. He wasn't physically set. There was nothing. So Tapuria is out here running his mouth because he thinks he's this godly fighter. And don't get me wrong, he is a great fighter. All of his wins have been impressive, but I don't think he should be getting a title shot yet. He beat Emmett. Okay. Emmett's a decent fighter, whatever. He's got a lot of power. Good for you. He beat Mitchell. Okay, well, we just saw Mitchell get killed by Emmett. And then, you know, Herbert, who he got rocked in and almost lost to. And then Ryan Hall's garbage, Damon Jackson's garbage, and Yusuf Zalal, well, he's a decent fighter. All of these guys, he has fought nobody even remotely close to the skill level of Volkanovski at prime level 145. We're talking about Alexander Volkanovski. He's beaten Holloway every time.
Last fight.
You could argue one of those, but he's beaten him every time. He's beaten TKZ. He beat T City. He beat Aldo. He's beaten everybody. There hasn't anybody
absolutely murdered Zombie.
He hasn't even. I mean, there's nobody that's really even come close. The last guy his last win was against Yair Rodriguez, and he had 7 takedowns and just beat the shit out of him the entire fight. And everybody was talking about how Yair was, so good and whatever. And now people, and specifically Topuria himself, thinks that he's gonna walk in and just waltz all over him. You're out of your fucking mind. Volkanovski is going to show still why he's the champ, why he's got the belt, and he is definitely not fucking losing it.
So pretty much what I'll go off as Topuria, don't get me wrong, being undefeated is good. You did what you had to do against the opponent you got. I don't know if I think I picked Topuria, but I said I would laugh if Herbert would knock him out.
And he almost did. I remember it perfectly because we were talking about it and then we were watching it and we were like, holy shit, he almost did it.
And I said, if Herbert hits him with a kick, it could be over. And his lights almost went out. And I damn near ran through a brick wall. But I was screaming the whole time. But, that's what happened in Go Up Weight. You're too small for 55, buddy. You got to stay at 45. And shit, he may even consider going to 35. He even said, pretty much, he's like I said, he's a talented guy. He's well-rounded-ish, but I'd say that I fairly like him on the feet.
Are you also flipping your pick? Going with the
champ? This is what I'll say.
Going with the champ.
So I was just watching, and Nate, like I said, he doesn't have the overall resume to even get this fight personally. I was honestly hoping 2 things would happen. A, before Holloway got that fight, him and Holloway, number 1 contender again. But no one wants to see potentially Holloway and Volk again. Me personally, I'll watch it. But ideally, there's that. Or honestly, I would have loved to see him and Yair go at it.
That would have been a fun fight.
Now that's a woohoo. Honestly, I would have said, look, because they're fighting in Mexico next week. You could have put that as the headliner. And that would have been a crazy 5-round fight. And then if you would have went through Yair, then you can say, okay, you potentially finished a guy inside the top 5. Welcome to the number 1 contender spot. Different story. But like I said, he's talented. He's good on the mic. He had the Kobe Covington syndrome. He knows how to talk. He must be watching some Kobe and Connor. But the line is disrespectful to hell to Volk.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry. I honestly thought maybe Volk would have been like 8,800, 8,900.
You're not going to find him cheaper than this.
No. Yeah.
I mean,
Unless he goes against Islam again. That's the only other way you're going to find him maybe below 8K if he fights Islam one more time. So I'm like, okay, Volk has his own good striker. And honestly, what I think Topuria's going to do, he has all this hype up animosity saying that he's going to go for the round one knockout. He actually said during a conference yesterday, if I'm Volk round one, I wouldn't even throw punches. Kick the living shit out of his leg. And because Volk can kick like a horse, kick his leg, get rid of his power, and absolutely drown Topuria within 5 rounds. Honestly, I know people are going to say, oh, no, this is the main event. Pick your side. But this is the cheapest you will see Volk unless he fights Islam again. You're not going to see him at a minus 125. Dude, there was like what? I think earlier in the week, I seen Topuria as the favorite. And whoever got money on Volk, on plus money,
plus money.
I wish I did because I would have put money on it. And I'll tell you right now, let's say Topuria has a good round one, and I see Volk at plus money, I am slamming that plus money down. Absolutely throwing my piggy bank on Volk. And after that, plus money. And people are saying, oh, you got to pick your side for this main event. I'm not trying to talk shit. I think there's a chance. I'm not saying he's going to murder him like he did Zombie. Because from what I've seen, Topuria, Topuria's good. Could he be a future champ once Volk does move up? I think he could. I really firmly believe he could. But this looks like a humble pie type of fight. You come in there
100%.
disrespectful. You can't disrespect the GOAT like that. I know everyone's saying, oh, if you look at the time frames of Topuria and Conor, it's around the same time frame. But if you look at that fight with Conor and Otto already looked checked out. He did not want to be there. He looked like he didn't want to fight. One thing I need to worry about Volk, when Volk has a full camp and he's training and he's up there, Volk's going to fight. I absolutely think if this fight goes to decision, Volk could literally, and I mean this, literally win a 50-45, 50-44.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Especially if he mixes in his grappling. And I firmly do. I think Volk could legit get between 5 to 8 takedowns in this fight.
Yep.
So, like I said, more tape study. So I'm glad we didn't do this video last night because my mindset was like, oh no, I think Topuria could maybe check him.
No,
I
I
didn't
know
go to
you were
bed
on
till like
to,
3
so I
o'clock
know
last
you were
night.
on Topuria as at,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the week, and I was about a month ago.
Mhm.
My mindset changed a couple of weeks ago. Yours obviously changed
Last night.
today.
Last night.
So
I was up
it
till
is.
3 a.m. just watching fights.
Hey, it's something. Sometimes it's what you got to do.
Yeah,
So
this is.
we got our
I know
piece
people
out
say,
there.
"Oh, do you need to pick a side?" And I'm not trying to sound cocky. Bill, you get honestly the way this card is with the value of dogs you can get to, you can have almost any line you want. Do not skip this main event. If you do, you're gonna be a damn jackass.
Yeah, that wouldn't be smart.
I don't know if cash. I don't see this as a stackable fight. Everyone's gonna say, "Oh, what if it's a?" I don't think this fight's a war. And
No.
don't get me wrong. If Topuria wins, is it probably gonna be my first round knockout? Maybe if he comes out aggressive, possibly. But if I had to rate it 1 through 10, I'd probably give that like a 2.5. Because realistically, besides that kick, Volk's really not getting finished by anybody.
Yeah. All right. So both of us going with the slightly favored champ
And
and
still,
Alexander Volkanovski. Next card is actually pretty damn nice.
Mexico, I think. Wait, is it
Yeah.
Is the Mexico card or
Yeah.
is it the Rodenstreich card?
It should be Mexico because it's Moreno and Rod. Yeah, it's definitely Mexico. Definitely Mexico. Yeah, Uruguay, Rodriguez, Moreno, Torres, Zaluber,
Mexico.
Perez, Altamirano, Aguilar. Yeah. So yeah, that should be a really good card. Do you have a dog that you want to lock in to this card?
Ooh.
Do not
Do
lock
I want to
in.
be obvious? I'm not trying to, I know I'm a Neil guy. Maybe that's me just, the only thing I'll say about, this Neil pick, I was on probably a bigger dog than this. I think it was a fight night card. I picked Charles Rapke, and Rapke absolutely chin checked Urbina.
That's fine.
Um,
Are you locking in Neil?
Tell me yours first, and then I'll get back to you because I'm stuck on two.
I am going to lock in Tafa.
Okay, that was one of my three, but I know it's probably
Disgusting.
like because my top two honestly is Neil and Ribeiro but Ribeiro is almost like the obvious one because if he wins, he's gonna absolutely demolish. Um, you know what? I'm gonna put my sack where it is. Give me Neil
All
because
right.
the last time I made a pick like that with Rabke, it paid off.
Okay, got that in there. So that wraps up this card. Got anything else you want to add?
Um, I'm expecting a handful of finishes. Um, and I will say this right now. There are two fighters. How you're building lineups. This is my suggestion. Say your input as you please. To me, start your lines with Nakamura and Volkanovski because you can easily fill out the rest. Unless you're really on that Topuria train, do you boo boos? Um, you can, like I said, you can almost go anywhere you want in this card.
I agree.
And one of the leverages I'm looking at, I actually like the AK range a lot. So I'm gonna try to build and see how I can get around that, and it should be a fun card.
Definitely should be. All right. Well, that wraps everything up here. As always, we appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next week.